What's up, everyone? It's Alex Revere, co-founder of Story Hunter. This is part 2 of the series we're doing with Jeffrey Wisenbaugh, who's the head of content at Instagram. That's at Instagram on Instagram, the most popular social media account in the world. In this episode, we're going to be focusing on tips to create videos on Instagram. Sounds like the right guy to talk to. Let's really get into how you create great stories for Instagram.
Yeah, I think it's using all three surfaces of Instagram in really unique ways. I think, we take the sort of movie approach where feed is an amazing place where that movie poster can go, stories that sort of behind the scenes, ephemeral, 24-hour, really super engaging behind the scenes type of content. And then IGTV is that full sort of feature presentation, a place where you can really talk directly to an audience for longer than 60 seconds in IGTV, and then using this sort of series tools and making sure you establish like the type of content you're doing.
Yeah, what are the series tools?
Yeah, so it just released being able to upload content to IGTV and then just naturally, like most people do, they sort of have a wrapper around it. Like this is the rough cut, so you would create a series for the rough cut, add a title, add a little description. It makes it much more clear to the audience what this type of content is. And if I enjoyed watching this, which hopefully people do, they will watch additional content that you're producing on your account, whether you're an individual or a business.
Yeah. What do you look for when selecting what creator to focus on at Instagram?
Yeah, I think that's honestly the biggest part. The thing that sort of takes the longest is making sure we're identifying really cool people doing authentic things on Instagram. That's the most important thing. A lot of research goes into that. We call it sort of going down the rabbit hole, finding people who are doing just awesome things, whether that's craft, whether that's documenting travel, whether that's photography, art, beauty, skateboarding, anything that really sort of resonates with a young teen audience is really important to us. And we do that through just the natural tools of search, sort of going down, again, what we call the rabbit hole, looking at what people follow, finding these really cool content categories, using the search tools of Instagram to find these really great people. We obviously use our resources here internally too. We have this great team called Community Lab that identifies and sort of tracks and being able to communicate with these really cool creators, and then just sort of looking throughout the ecosystem.
How about a filmmaker out there, someone on Story Hunter? Like, would they be a candidate if they're doing interesting stuff? How do you differentiate? Like, how do you kind of make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of finding that sort of unicorn. I think that is the biggest, again, the thing that takes the longest is finding these people that feel different and unique, and someone who uses Instagram really well across the three surfaces, feed, stories, IGTV. I think there are amazing people who do craft really well, something that's really visually interesting that gets you excited. If someone's using also the stories tools really well, someone that finds a sort of like cool creative hack within colors and using the sort of draw tools or the way the stickers are enveloped. Like, we want to share that sort of creativity with a large audience who really care and are passionate about the mission of Instagram.
What suggestions or what things do you have to train normal filmmakers to do it in vertical form and do it for IGTV?
Yeah, I think IGTV specifically, it's an exciting place where it's sort of just emerging, and finding ways to engage that audience on IGTV is something super important to us. I think it's one, identifying those subject matters, the people that really are telling an amazing story. I also think it's creating and using the tools of also stories, like vertical content is something really exciting. I think it's being able to use those tools effectively on the surfaces that you're producing for. So you should understand the sort of basics and the what people enjoy about IGTV, find out what people enjoy about stories, and then embracing that sort of quality. We have a pretty small footprint when we produce things. We have a pretty small crew, I would say maybe 3 people max, someone who's really there being able to engage and speak with somebody directly, a shooter, maybe some additional audio if the environment's not great, but it's really about creating the content for the surface that you're producing for.
I'm sure there's been a learning curve for you in the past year. What are the things that you've learned, what are you excited about?
Yeah, I really think it is embracing the surfaces that you're producing for, identifying those, becoming an expert in what you're producing on, understanding what the stories tools are. I think polling stickers, just really audience engagement on stories is the most important thing, is that you have so many great tools. You have the question sticker, you have the polling sticker, you have the quiz sticker, you have the chat feature now. I think there are ways to engage your audience directly through stories, and you need to be doing that. I think if you're throwing up content that feels over polished or maybe should deserve to be on IGTV, but it's on stories, it feels way different than what you are expecting on that surface, and it doesn't really resonate or connect as much. So identifying the tools within each surface and then using those to create the content you're making for those surfaces, I think is the number one thing people should be doing.
And the types of stories you have to tell, you mentioned like authentic, personal, passionate subjects. What do you suggest, like when people are identifying the stories to tell for their account, whether it's a media company or a brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one, being super confident and comfortable in what your brand or your personality stands for, understanding what your mission is, and then embracing and finding individuals that align with that mission or values. That's something super important at Instagram. You know, we have people first. We're always people first. We're about simplicity. We're also about craft. Identifying those people and then using at Instagram to bring you closer to the people and things that you love is our mission, and it's our goal. And so knowing what yours is, and then doing the work, doing the research that it takes to find these folks that can be an advocate for your brand or yourself. You can be also your best advocate. So if you want to create yourself, put yourself out there, start your own content on Instagram, and that's the way to find engagement or find meaningful connections with people.
Let's say you need to hire someone in Sweden or Nairobi or Cleveland.
Yeah, which we can.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. When you're looking at those people, those applicants on their profiles, what do you really look for? Do they have to have Instagram stories experience? Do they have, like, what are the kind of main things that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's important for them just to understand, obviously, the basics of visual and video storytelling. That's the number one thing, being able to create beautiful content. And I keep going back to this, but it is really the drumbeat that keeps us going, is it's always people first. And so having that sort of documentary style storytelling is very important, as well as having some brand company experience. You know, there's hopefully a level of quality that we are hoping to bring with our content, so we're looking for that, as well as people who understand the platform that they're creating for. Like you said, stories experience, IGTV, someone who just naturally uses it. Hopefully we all are using Instagram and understand how content looks and should feel. And when you're there on the ground in, Korea, Japan, the UK, France, Germany, and capturing that content for us, knowing how those operate and coming with that in that approach, I think is important.
So kind of high quality documentary style storytelling with some clarity that they have worked with sort of branded content or different types of brands is a good kind of mix.
But really, it's a mix of it. It's people first storytelling, and having an understanding of Instagram is important to us.
And how about if you're like a DP out there, what you think they should be using the three tools?
Absolutely. If you're not on Instagram, you should be on Instagram. It's a great place to put your work out there too. I think it's really exciting to be able to capture that on IGTV, stories again, feed. Understanding and using those three surfaces to represent your work will hopefully find you more work. And even if you aren't technically working for any professional brands and you're just starting out, Instagram is a great place to start putting that content out there, because that's kind of hopefully the first thing we do a lot of the times is like, what's their Instagram like? What is that like? Obviously, through Story Hunter and other places, you are able to see a person's portfolio, but I think Instagram is also a great way to see their visual voice and how they use that in the best way.
What is kind of the surprising thing that you saw that people are doing that's really working that you kind of didn't expect when you came from Group 9?
Yeah, I think it's just the amazing things that people are doing on the platform. I think it's the idea that there's a community of over 1 billion people on Instagram. They are creating, and the craft and skill that goes into what they do is breathtaking. It's being able to identify these people, whether it is, I think I mentioned the miniature food artist from Japan. There's an amazing embroidery artist from South Africa doing amazing detailed work, and I think that's another thing that really amplifies is the is the zoom in and making something feel smaller. That something that's very small can feel very big on Instagram and can have a massive impact.